Hello everyone, welcome to Card Making Fundamentals and welcome, first of all, happy August. Welcome to the Phone a Friend classroom. I am so glad you're here with me today. I think this classroom is going to be super fun and we're going to go over the supplies that we need to create with lesson kit number 1. Since it's the first Friday of the month, we are going to go ahead and open up our newsletter package and take our lesson kit number 1. I'm excited about this month's classroom because I love telephones. I even have a old-fashioned, really old-fashioned one. I couldn't even hook it up as a landline. That's how old it is. But I have it for decoration in my sitting room. But I love telephones. I think it's a great way to communicate hello and hi. And I guess it's considered retro now. It tells you how old I am, but I love telephones. Let's go over the supplies that we're going to need for this month's classroom. You're going to need some inks. Now, I'm not telling you to go out and buy inks. Any kind of inks that you have would work. Even if you have distress oxide inks, use those. I'm using Memento inks. These are dye-based inks. I have 3 different colors. You're going to need a green, a black, and a red. Now, I suggest going through your inks and kind of coordinate the colors with the colors that are in your pattern paper. The striped one is a good example. It has the green and the red that you could probably swatch pretty close to. But I'm using Memento inks. This is Bamboo Leaves, this is Tuxedo Black, and this is Love Letter. I think these are great inks that coordinate with our paper. Now you're going to need a stamping block and a stamp cleaner. If you have a stamped chamois, break that out, or baby wipes would work perfect for that. And of course you're going to need acrylic block big enough for your telephone that is in your stamp set this month. You're also going to need a tape runner. So grab that. You're going to need some glue. Any kind of glue you have would work. I'm using our glue from one of our past kits. And I think that's all that we're going to need. I was going to say you need scissors, but I put them in the kit this month. I was so excited I was able to do that. I think you guys are going to love the Cutter Bee scissors. They're great for fussy cutting. And I'm going to keep those out because we're going to use those. But let's jump in and create a card with lesson number 1 of our Phone a Friend classroom. I hope everybody is having a fabulous day. I don't know why my screen got blurry, but I hope you're having a fabulous day, kind of beating the heat. I think we've been blessed over here having some pretty nice weather. But let's take everything out of our lesson kit here. I always forget to mention this, but if you guys, I know not everyone has a craft room, or if you are crafting on a desk, make sure you protect your work surface with a craft mat. I think it's very helpful. Now this little black thing, it kind of looks like an eyelash. Normally I would put the smaller pieces in your little bag, but it was an afterthought, and so it's probably going to fly out. So be careful with that little eyelash looking piece. Keep your bag because we can put our finished product in it when we're all done. And we are going to go ahead and start by adhering some pattern paper to our background. We're going to take the almost lattice looking paper. We're going to flip this around, and then using our tape runner, we're going to go ahead and add some adhesive behind here. This is going to go in the upper portion of our card base. Now you may need to reinforce your score line from your card bases. Originally I was going to put our card bases just in a separate package, but I think putting them in with the kit worked out better. So make sure it opens the right way. We'll take our lattice piece, adhere this, evenly spacing it on the upper portion of our card base. That goes towards the top there. Now after we have this done, I do have an embossed piece of white cardstock. Flip this around, and this is going to go on the very bottom of our card base. We're going to evenly space this, and you're going to line up as best as you can. Line up the left and right with the pattern paper so it kind of flows. we're going to end up covering up the seam, so I'm not too worried about that. So if it overhangs just a little bit, no worries. I do to just making sure that it's evenly spaced. You can see here there's a little bit overhanging. We're going to cover that up, like I said, so I'm not too worried about that. But don't you love the polka dots? I think polka dots are super fun. Okay, now we have a piece of white cardstock in our kit. Before we go any further, we're going to go ahead and do our stamping. So I'm actually going to put my eyelash. Don't you just love my terminology? My kids always make fun of me because like I refer it to something, but they say, Mom, it kind of sticks, but they know exactly what we're talking about. But I'm going to put that curly Q inside my little embellishment bag for now. In the meantime, we're going to grab an acrylic block, and I'm going to zoom in, and we are going to do some stamping with our stamp set. So you'll want to take out your stamp set. This is such a cute stamp set. I just love this. Now, remove your saran wrap. There's my terminology again. Keep it because it protects your stamp. But it's a nice photopolymer stamp this month. And we're going to stamp the phone. Now, when I first did my samples, this little heart on top of the phone, let me show you, was stuck together. So when I peeled the phone off, this little heart here went with it. I used my scissors and nipped it off. If you want to keep it together, you can, but I just think it's, we're not going to be using that little heart in here. So I just deattached it. But if you don't want to do surgery on your stamps, you can just keep it together. But I think there's plenty of room on your white cardstock to stamp your phone. We're going to stamp a red phone today. I'm going to go ahead and take a baby wipe out. And I'm going to grab my love letter, my red ink, and we're going to stamp a red phone. I'm going to go over with my thumb my base of the phone, and we'll stamp this with the red ink. And I'll stamp this towards the bottom. And it stamps beautifully. There's the base of our phone. And I'm going to go ahead and wipe off that phone. And we're going to go ahead and stamp the receiver. I'll go over it with my hand real fast. And I'll ink this up as well. It's a solid image, so you want to make sure it's inked up really well. And we'll stamp this just above. And it stamps lovely also. I'll wipe off my receiver, if that's what it's called. I probably don't even know what that's called. And then, let's see, what else? While we're at it, we might as well, that's all the stamping on this we're going to do. Take your embellishment bag, and there's some little white circles in here. You just need one. But I put extra in there because we're going to stamp a heart in the middle of this little circle. And I think it looks nicer if it's centered. Now to stamp the heart, we're going to go ahead and stamp with purple ink. I take that back. Green ink. So let's take our green ink and take the heart, the solid heart. It should be in one of the corners. And then we'll put this on an acrylic block. Go over it with your hand a little bit. And then we're going to stamp a heart right in the center of that small circle. We're using our green ink. I think that looks good. I'm a little off center, so we're going to stamp it one more time to see if I can get it straight. It's not that bad, but I think we can stamp it one more time. I just took everything out of my bag. And let's stamp it one more time. And I think that one was second time is a charm. I'm going to go ahead and clean off my little heart and put that back. And then we'll set that up there with our stamped image. Now, while we have our inks out, we might as well stamp our sentiment. So in your embellishment bag, there is a thought bubble. There's two of them. You just need one. And you want to make sure that the little point here is facing the left. And then there's also a rectangle thought bubble. And do we want this facing the right or do we want it facing the left? We'll have both of these facing the left. After we have our thought bubbles out for our rectangle in our stamp set, we want to stamp just wanted to say. So I'll put that on an acrylic block. And then for our sentiments, we want to use red ink or black ink. So let's grab our black ink pad and we'll ink up just wanted to say. And I'll stamp this in the center of our rectangle. And it's stamped great. If you stamp crooked, I give you an extra one, so no worries. Oh, and then we're gonna clean off our just wanted to say. And then there's two hellos in the stamp set. There's a block and then there's a scripty hello. Take the scripty hello and stamp that in the oval thought bubble with your black ink, kind of centering it. And it fits beautifully, and we'll clean off that hello and put that back. And then that's all the stamping that we're going to do for this card. So I'll put my inks back to the side, put my acrylic block over here. And then we'll take the backing for our stamp set, add that, and then I'm going to put my stamp set back. Okay, so we have, let me zoom back out, otherwise I'll forget that I'm so close. So we have our sentiments, we have our little green heart, and then we have our phone. Now we're going to take our scissors. It's nice that they have a little protective because these are pretty sharp. These are the scissors that I actually got confiscated on my vacation, which makes sense. I'm sure they don't want, they could consider this a weapon, but now I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut my phone using my Cutter Bee scissors. I like to start with the straight edge on the bottom. You want to leave a little bit of a border. And then once I start around the corner, I kind of like to turn the paper rather than turn my scissors. It just makes it easier for me. And you know, it doesn't have to be perfect spacing. I don't mind fussy cutting, and I actually fussy cut quite a bit. So just take your time and leave a little bit of a border. And I'll do the same thing to our little headset or our receiver. What do you call this phone part? Okay, we were watching a movie the other day and they had a cell phone. And that cell phone was super, it must have been 4 inches wide. It's like, oh my gosh, I remember those. And it's funny that I never thought, back then, I never thought that phones like this would be retro. Okay, so we have our phone, and then we have our sentiments. Now is where we're going to take our little eyelash, our little piece here, and then we're going to connect. We're going to flip over. Actually, let's not flip over. We're going to add a little dot of glue to the very bottom of the phone. The little cord here. And I'm just going to, there is one that has, I guess it really doesn't really matter which way you go, but there, let me show you. This is the way that I'm going to adhere it, to where you have that little loopy here and the open end on this side. Because you could do it this way, I suppose, but I think it would be better if it was this way, where the smaller loop is on this end. Okay, and then I'm going to lay it flat, add a little bit of glue on the very end, and then I'm going to put my receiver where I want it, and then I'll just kind of tuck that end on the bottom of the phone and hold it down. And then I'll lift the receiver part up, add a little dot of glue on the top of our little cord, and then we can add our receiver on this side. Now when you do this, you want to make sure that it's positioned where you want it to go on the phone. And I think that's a good spot. I want to wait a few seconds for that to tack down. That's all the gluing that we're going to be doing. And then when you lift it up, you want to be careful because it's not attached in the back. But that's what the back side looks like. Oh, I have inky fingers. And that's the front. Okay, so our phone is almost done. Now in our embellishment pack, we have 2 small foam squares. Take one of those and adhere it to the center circle on your phone. And then we're going to add our heart right in the middle of it for a little bit of dimension. You can see here. Okay, and you just need one for that. After we have this done, I have some foam squares here. Using my scissors, I'm going to trim a small piece away from one of them, so I have a little strip, and then I'm going to flip around my phone and I'm going to add that strip behind the receiver there. Just the receiver is what we need. And while we have those foam adhesive strips, we're going to take one of them, and they're really sticky. Just a warning. Put one behind the oval thought bubble, and then put the other one oopsie. We'll put one behind the phone, and then for the last one, I'm going to trim it in half. The last one's the one where we added the small piece to. We're going to add to our rectangle thought bubble. If you guys hear that charm, forgive me. It's our doorbell, and it's motion activated, so whenever somebody comes to the door or passes by, the mailman say, my chime goes off. So sorry about that, it's new. Okay, now I'm going to take my little flower paper clip out of my embellishment bag, and then I have my little heart I'm going to put back in here along with my extra thought bubbles, and then my foam adhesive. I have one little square left in case you need extra. There's backup. Okay, in our kit this month I included another one of those. I don't know if you guys like these little vinyl pouches. I love these because you could label them and everything, but I'm going to put my extras inside this little pouch. So our elements are good to go. We have our twine, our paper clip. I'm going to zoom back out, and then we're going to bring in our pattern papers. And with this pattern paper, it has zigzags on it. What I'm going to have you do is take your scissors, and on the very first red row of red zigzag line, they're kind of dashed lines, you can see here. On the very first full row, you're going to follow along just in front of it and repeat that zigzag. You're basically going between the red and the pale blue and creating a zigzag edge using the pattern as a guide for it. You see here? So there is my bottom edge. If you wanted to keep that, you could. Okay, now what we're going to do next is count. Do we want 4 or 3? 1. We're going to count 4 red zigzags. So the one that's just above our cut line is 1, 2, 3, and then go to the 4th zigzag and do the same thing. But this time, instead of going between the red and the blue, we're going between the red and the green. And we're going to follow along the edge. So the bottom is a red zigzag, the top is a red zigzag, and then there's 2 red zigzags in between. And I hope I'm making sense. Let me see if we can do it. So there is 1, 2, 3, 4 as a guide. There's 4 red zigzag lines. Lots in between. Okay? But that gives you the spacing that we want for our card. So that's done. And of course, if you want to keep these for another project, you could. You could actually put them on a card like that. Would be kind of cute. Okay, now after we have our zigzag done, we have our striped paper. We're going to go ahead and flip this around using our tape runner. I'm going to adhere this to the very top of my red panel, evenly spacing it. You have about 1/4 of an inch all around, and kind of looks like a photo frame almost. After we have this adhered, next we're going to take our zigzag. I'm going to add this to the front of my panel here, center it, and then we're going to take our zigzag. I'm going to add some adhesive basically just down the middle, and then this one is going to go, I want to kind of center this. This is going to go over the seam here of our photo frame. You can see it's going to be right here. There's going to be a little bit overlapping, and that's okay. So we'll add this over the seam to where we have about 1/2 of an inch off the bottom, I would say, and tack that down. Now I'm going to go ahead, make sure it's straight. I got mine crooked. Okay. Now, since it's not attached, you want to make sure that it's spaced how you want it. Actually, you could tack it down. If you have an adhesive that's easily removable, you could use it, or just use your hand. Hold it down, and the leftover that's overhanging, trim off with your scissors. Flip it around and do the same thing on the other side. There we go. Now it's evenly spaced, and I didn't have to trim off too much. Now, after we have this done, we can finish up with this panel, but I do want to add some foam adhesive behind the backside. So that is where your foam tape roll comes in handy. So you'll want to open your foam tape, and I already have one that's opened, so I'm going to use mine. On the end of your foam tape roll, there is a little piece of tape. I suggest keeping that because this foam tape likes to pop up like so. So keep that so you can secure it. I'm going to add, well, I'm going to start by adding foam adhesive to the left and right on that zigzag paper. And then we can add maybe 4 strips. On the back side, kind of evenly spacing them so it doesn't sag. Now if you don't like a lot of dimension, you could completely skip this step, but I think this is going to be just fine. And I did make a mistake, which I'm noticing now, but I think we could still roll with it. Before we remove the release paper, we're going to flip back over our front panel, and then I'm going to go ahead and take our baker's twine here. I'm going to lift up the release paper off the sides. Like so. And then I'm going to add my baker's twine right down the middle. Then I can flip it back over. And then we're going to tie a bow off to the left, right down the center. I think that looks good. I already removed the release paper off the ends, so it actually works out great. It kind of sticks to the table so you can finish off your bow. But just make sure that your bow is centered on that zigzag. Trim the tails. I like to trim one longer than the other. And then what we're going to do is flip this around and then lift up the release paper. And we can add this to our card base. Now this foam adhesive is not forgiving, so make sure you center it where you want it to go first, and then commit to placing it. I think that looks wonderful. Now after we have this done, we're going to go ahead and take our purple polka dot circle, add some adhesive behind here. This is going to go in the center, and it's going to go just over, I should say, our baker's twine. Tack that down. Then we're going to remove the release paper off of our phone. And then this can go carefully. You want to be careful because that phone kind of can go like this. This is going to go in the center of our circle. How cute is that? I just love the phone. Okay, that's done. We have our little heart paper clip. I like texture on my cards, so what we're going to do is take their paper clip and put it over our bow, like so. And then we're going to remove the release paper off of our thought bubbles. And our hello is going to go kind of off. I'm going to overlap them a little bit. My camera cut off. It must be at the 30-minute mark. It's a longer video, guys. I'm putting my just wanted to say towards the top here. I do want it to overhang my red cardstock just a little bit. And then we're going to take our hello, and I want the hello to overhang on the right side just a little bit for a good balance. And my heart in the middle of my phone is crooked. At first I thought I stamped another heart crooked, but I think I just got my heart off center. Okay, now we're done for the most part our card, but we do want to do something a little bit special using these two little items from our kit. Now this is kind of funny looking. It's a dropper bottle. But I wanted to give you guys some glazing glue, diamond glaze. What this is going to do is it goes on cloudy but will dry clear. And it's a little dropper bottle. I actually had a pour bottle. Let me show you. Well, let me show you like this. I actually had a pour bottle like this for you guys, but it was smaller. But the bottle that I was given or ordered wasn't squeezable, so it was hard plastic. So that wouldn't have did you guys any good. So I ended up getting a little dropper bottle. I think this is easily workable. So take that out, and then I also have our chunky glitter. Tap the lid a little bit, make sure that glitter doesn't fly everywhere, and you can open it up. If you want to do this on some scratch paper, you could. And then I've included a little spoon because they're cute. And we're going to take our little diamond glaze here. It's a little dropper bottle. I would suggest squeezing it just a little bit over the heart. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Squeezing it just a little bit over the heart and adding just one itty bitty drop, and then using the dropper part and kind of spreading it out over the heart. Actually, instead of just going over the heart, let's go over the whole circle. So add a couple drops and go over that entire circle, even better. Go edge to edge so it's completely covered. If you have air bubbles, use that little dropper part to get those air bubbles out. But we're going to go over that entire circle. And then you can go ahead and close up your diamond glaze. And then the fun part, I love doing this technique, and I'm so happy I get to share it with you because I think the results are super fun, especially for cards. Now, take your little spoon, add a little bit, oh wait, before we do that, grab some scratch paper. Okay, I had to grab some scratch paper. I should have told you that in the supply list. But grab some scratch paper. I'm going to zoom back out and give it a little bit more room. Take your little spoon, scoop a little bit of your chunky glitter, go over that heart, kind of tap it off so it's covered. See that? And then tap off the excess. And you can brush away any excess that's around your phone. But when this dries, it dries clear, and it gives that just a little extra fun sparkle look. I think that's super duper neat. So that's our little embellishment, our little, no gems, but we have that. And then if you wanted to funnel your excess back into your jar, you could. But I'm going to save this for save your scratch paper for lesson number 2. In fact, I'm going to fold this in quarters, and I'm going to put this in my little extra pouch for next Friday. Okay, so keep some scratch paper in your pouch. But when this dries, let me know the effect. It's super fun to do for flower centers, for butterfly wings. And you just use, if you have glossy accents or Spellbinder's glazing glue, diamond glaze is the same thing. This is a little bit more runny than those others that I mentioned, but it's a nice little fun little dropper bottle. And then you have lots left over. Little goes a long way. But it will seal in that glitter too. So if you have people who don't like getting glitter in the mail, this will help seal that glitter inside that little phone with that extra sparkle. So this, it's almost done. We have our envelope. Once it's dry, this will fit perfectly inside of our package here. If you have a little extra twine you want to save, you could save that and put that in your extra bag. But this finishes off our very first project with our phone a friend. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I'll see you next Friday for our next lesson. I'm going to keep it short, but have a wonderful day. And our next lesson is on August 12th. So we'll see you on August 12th for lesson kit number 2 of our Phone a Friend classroom. Thanks for joining me for Card Making Fundamentals, and have a great day. Bye-bye.